Welcome to Niners Talk with John, Tim, and Brian. Let's talk Niners.
And Kittle's wide open and down to the 45.
Sure, Fisher, let me ask you something. Hey, Coach, go ahead. How can 6 of you miss a play like that, huh?
Hello. Welcome to Niners Talk. We're finally at the NFL season start. Talking Pittsburgh. For those of you new to the podcast, I'm John, joined by my brother Tim, my brother from another mother, Brian. We are three obsessed Niners fans who talk Niners ball each week. We ride the highs, we talk about the lows, and we try to get through the season. So, if you have a chance, leave us a review, give us a like, subscribe. But how you guys feeling today? Tim, how you feeling? It's Labor Day.
How many times is too much to check Twitter to see if Nick Bosa signed? That's how I'm feeling. I mean, is it 20? Is it every 30 seconds? Every 30 seconds. Okay. Well, I haven't reached that as of yet, but I thought right before the podcast, I took my dog for a walk and came back, deliberately left my phone at the house, hoping to come back and see maybe if I leave my phone alone, Nick Bosa will sign. But that did not happen.
How many times did you check today?
I don't really count, but I'm going to go at least 20, 25.
Okay.
And I think what's driving is because there's not much news coming out. There's been a couple of tidbits here and there. I think even Niners Nation, something came up that said there was a flight leaving Florida to Santa Clara. And can we track the flight? Because that might be having Nick Bosa on it, because apparently Bosa sounding name was apparently on the flight. This is where we've gotten to with this whole contract holdout.
Saying there's a chance.
And John, I think that was your idea, but I absolutely went with it. So it's okay.
So what would you say your panic meter is at?
Well, if panic is checking Twitter 20, 30 times a day, and I'm now tracking flights across the country, and I decided to switch up the mojo and wear some Niners paraphernalia for the podcast, hoping that the positive energy will somehow exhume into the universe and that will result in a signing, then yeah, I think I'm at the panic line.
And what number is that?
Is that a 10?
Is that your 10 or
11?
I'm
you
going
go
to
to
go
11?
I'm going to go to a 9.3 right now. Only because that's the temperature outside right now in Virginia.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Brian, how you feeling?
I said 8 last week, right? So it's got to be amped up just a bit, or upped up a little bit. So I'm going to go with 8.5. No major traction this week. So, but I'm not obsessive as Tim, and I didn't check it 20 times. I didn't check it any times today. I'm assuming you guys are my breaking news and you guys would tell me if he was signed.
Absolutely. I would call you in the middle of an important meeting just to say, guess what?
Because that's actually more important. Yeah, I'm at a 9. I'm kind of at the point of like vacation when Clark is there. He's like, Jed, we buy your tickets. We buy your jerseys. You owe us, right? What can you owe us? Like, come on, people. Like, this is what I don't really understand. The price isn't going to go down. It's always going to go up. Nobody ever goes down in price. Just pay the man and get him in.
What would you,
and then sort it out next year.
I know this impacts the salary cap because I'm assuming this is all the maneuvering that they're doing with all these players that they've signed. Like,
Sure.
Greenlaw and Fred and Debo and Kittle. Like, I'm assuming they're trying to balance it all. I don't have the numbers enough for me to say that, but I'm guessing there's some calculus here about how much they want to pay him, how much is going to be like a signing bonus, and how much is going to be guaranteed, and kind of all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. And I think when linebackers, and I know we'll get to them, it's why the 49ers, I think, have some people in waiting because they know they're going to lose some guys as they lost Al-Shaair last year, but they had somebody who could come in and take his place. So, no, I mean, Bosa, it's just, I did not expect it to last this long. But I will offer a potential silver lining in this scenario. TJ Watt who we'll talk about when we talk about the Steelers. He held out in 2021. He signed 2 days before the opening game. He ended up having 5 quarterback hits rather, and 2 sacks. So I'm saying there might be precedent in getting a player just before the opening game.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I'm saying there's a chance.
This is the thing that drives me a little bit nuts sometimes about the Niners tend to overthink things a little bit. Case in point, kickers. Like, guys, it's not going to get any better. Like, Nick Bosa's just not going to go, you know what? I feel like playing. I'll just sign. Like, just pay him. It's not good. Price isn't going to go down. It's not like gas. Just pay the dude. Put him on the defensive line. I'm pretty sure you're going to sell tickets.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know what they're trying to do or guarantees or any of that stuff, but just sign the dude. It's just sign him. It's not that hard. Don't overthink. Just don't overthink.
Didn't his brother?
So
I'm just trying to remember this from memory, but didn't his brother hold out also when he came in?
I don't remember when he came into the league, but I do know that the 49ers and Bosa, I think they both would agree in theory that Bosa should be the highest paid defensive player in the league. And I wouldn't argue with that. I think what is happening now is just I think they're getting close. That's just a hunch on what I'm gathering. But there's about a $2 to $4 million gap, and how much of this is going to be guaranteed that it prevented the signing from happening. So we're just going to have to, tomorrow will be Tuesday. It is Monday, September 4th, and tomorrow's the 5th, and we will see what happens. Every day we're checking, and at some point, a deal will get done.
It's Labor Day. I took a nap, and I was hoping that when I woke up from the nap, Nick Bosa would be signed. It'd be awesome if he did it during this podcast. Anyway,
what else are we talking about?
So, I don't know about you guys, but I watched a decent amount of college football this weekend, and there were some fabulous games. It really felt like, okay, football's back. We saw an ex-49er, Dion, take Colorado past TCU, which was an awesome football game. And we saw Florida State beat LSU. Once again, a former Notre Dame coach isn't living up to the hype, but that's per usual. But this is opening week. Thursday is the first game. We got Kansas City, Detroit, but we're playing Pittsburgh. So what are we doing week 1?
I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to join you to watch the first game of the season like we did last year. But one thing I will say, John, that I know we won't have to deal with like we dealt with Chicago last year, we won't have a monsoon. I did check the weather for Pittsburgh. It's supposed to be gorgeous, sunny weather, high of 76. So playing conditions will not be an issue this year.
Yeah, originally, Tim and I tried to go out. That didn't really work. So I asked my youngest. She was all geared up to go, but then she has cheerleading, and she's actually more jazzed up about that. So, which will actually probably save me about $2,000. So instead of doing that, yeah, good call. Way to save money for your college. So instead of that, I'm going to head down Saturday, hang out with Tim, I'll have a little steak, and then I'll do my usual 4.9 mile run before opening game. And then 1 o'clock, see what happens. So, Brian, what are you going to do for the game?
I am also going to do a 4.9 mile run. So, John, you've inspired me to always kind of look to do something like that on game day. So that'll be me. I also am in a second fantasy football league where it's actually a brewery that I go to with like my brother and then a few other friends here in this area. So I'm going to, they open at noon. So the game on the West Coast is at 10 a.m. because it's obviously starting later. So starting early on our side. So I think this brewery opens at noon. So we'll probably catch the second half over at this brewery. So that'll be fun. It'll be a fun day for opening day.
That'll be fun. So let's talk Pittsburgh. Brian, what are you thinking about Pittsburgh right now? It's always a little hard for opening day because we've seen them. We really haven't seen them.
Yeah. So Pittsburgh last year, what did I think? They came in third in
AFC North.
In the
AFC North,
NFC. I'm sorry, AFC North. You should be AFC North behind Cincinnati and Baltimore, and I think Pittsburgh came in third. This year, they are predicted to come in probably in last in the North. And this is according to ESPN. So Cincy first, Baltimore second, Cleveland probably third, and Pittsburgh last. Projected wins 8.5. So 8 and 9 wins of the year. ESPN is giving them an 11% chance to win the North. So we'll kind of see what happens there. And I think also ESPN is saying that they've got the 12th easiest schedule. So we'll see what goes there.
Well,
Tim, what do you think here?
Yeah, I mean, Steelers, they were 9-8 last year. Hard to believe that Mike Tomlin is coming into his 17th year coaching the Steelers. It's going to be going into a stadium with one of the most devoted, loud fan bases in the NFL. One thing, I just doing a little research on the Steelers. I know that they have been consistent, but you have to go back before Tomlin was coached to find them having a losing record. So the 49ers are going to have their work cut out for them. There's no doubt about that. We're obviously, the Bosa variable right now is very much in play. I think obviously Kenny Pickett, the Steelers quarterback, is kind of open. Please, no, keep holding out. So, but that is a definite, that's a definite, obviously variable. Yeah, but the Steelers are coming in. It's going to be, they're a good, solid club. Pickett's coming into his second year. I have no doubt that Pittsburgh will be ready to play some football, and their fan base is going to be excited. But like you said, John, you never really know until the season starts. And when we look at the 49ers' last two opening games, we go back to 2021. They're playing the Lions. They really had them on the ropes, and the Lions, with Jared Goff, came flying back to the point where the 49ers had taken their starters out. They had to put them back in. So the 49ers won, but you kind of went, well, what team was that we saw? Last year, we played in the monsoon in Chicago. Trey Lance was the starter. A game the 49ers, frankly, should have won. Debo fumbled in the first half, and then they played in just torrential downpour. So, there's always going to be, what's the season going to bring? And we'll finally be able to see that. But if the last 2 years are precedent, is that we know anything can happen. But the one thing we don't have to worry about is the monsoon. It's supposed to be gorgeous weather in Pittsburgh this Sunday, so nothing to worry about monsoon wise.
Yeah, I mean, I was really actually looking forward to going out. Other than the cost savings, that's really only the big pro, because it's a devoted fan base. Looks like it's gonna be a pretty nice stadium. But at the end of the day, I'll still have a pretty good view sitting in my brother's basement. For me, Pittsburgh, it comes down to two things. One, Kenny Pickett is going to be better this year. He's got a great wide receiver in Pickens. I expect them to go after Lenore or Ambry Thomas quite a bit. And they also have Najee Harris. So I expect them, especially if Bosa is not on the field, to go right through that middle of that line. It will be really interesting to see how Hargrave goes for the whole game, because we've seen him a little bit here and there. We haven't really seen him for a whole game. But as you know, Tomlin just doesn't coach a bad football team. So I think this game is going to be close. I don't feel like if the Niners do lose, we need to panic, because there's so much football. It's such a marathon. It's 17 games. Last year we lost. We still made it to the NFC Championship. The year before, we won. We made it to the NFC Championship. I just want to see good ball. I mean, the only time I was a little nervous was, during the COVID year when we played the Cardinals. But that's coming off the Super Bowl, and they looked weird.
Yeah.
That whole season was weird. But I think Pittsburgh's gonna be tough. We don't do predictions on this show. I just think it's gonna be a tough football game. But
so according to ESPN, John. So what are the Steelers doing best? So they talk about they are an excellent pass rusher. So you got TJ Watt over there. They just signed Alex Highsmith to an extension. And I guess, ESPN's also clouding the depth behind them. So they got Marcus Golden in free agency, and then they got this new linebacker from Wisconsin who's supposedly really good in the 4th round, Nick Herbig. So kind of we'll see what happens there. And then from the, as you were talking about their offense, Tim, about Kenny Pickett and stuff. So, one fantasy person who's always seemed to stand out for us is like Deontay Johnson. So he's someone who's kind of like picked up his game over the last few years. And then, so he's always, the best at getting open. And then I'm not familiar with this name, but George Pickens. I guess he's one of their receivers, and supposedly he's been really good. Yeah.
I think there's one matchup that I'm really focused on. And Brian, you mentioned TJ Watt. Well, TJ Watt likes to come at you I'd say they like to line Watt up on the right side of the offensive line. And of course, the 49ers right tackle is Colton McKivitz, and he is the question mark going into this season after McGlinchey left for free agency. And that's where I think, Bosa's absence has played another variable, because McKivitz hasn't had to go against Bosa in practice. And maybe if he had, now this is just a hunch, he would have been better prepared he's going to go against a very elite pass rusher, and that's going to be a very early test. So if I'm Shanahan, certainly I want to try to spread the field. I'm going to mix it up with a lot of different looks to get Watt going upfield and making a pull of a lineman when the play is going in an opposite direction. So I see spreading him out. I see a CMC getting a lot of different looks just to keep Watt off balance. So I definitely see, the running game taking center stage early, but not the pound it out, grind it out type of running back. I see a lot of misdirections and fakes that Shanahan's going to try to establish early.
Yeah, I think where I'm thinking the Niners have a bit of an edge, knock on wood, is their offense can be pretty explosive. And the rules of the NFL today really favor the offense. And while you've got Pickett and Pickens and Najee Harris, the Niners just have way too many horses on offense to score
I agree.
a lot of points. And that's where I think the Niners really have an edge. But let's talk keys to victory. So my first key, just sign Nick Bosa. That's key number one. Sign him. Get him on a plane. Say, Nick, go get that guy. Tim, what other keys to victory do you have for this weekend?
I think the 49ers, I'm just going to say, I'm going to put the Bosa discussion off the table just for a moment. I think the 49ers need to be aggressive on offense because here's why. Actually, you know what? I'll bring Nick Bosa back in. Because, yes, they may get Nick Bosa back. They may not. And if Bosa is back, is he going to be on some sort of a pitch count? I don't know. But it might be something where he does have some rust to shake off, even though I gave you the silver lining of TJ Watt a couple of years ago, having a monster game only 2 days back. But here's the other reason I want the 49ers to get aggressive early on offense is that I don't want this coming down to special teams where we have to call out our kicker. So right now I have zero confidence in our special teams to produce that. I would love the scenario I would love to see is the 49ers up by 10 with about 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, where they can just grind the ball out, get at least a 2-possession lead against the Steelers, and then take in someone like Ty Davis-Price or Jordan Mason, as they used him last year, as kind of like that relief pitcher to grind the Steelers down and milk the clock. That's what I'm looking for.
Cool. Brian, what are your keys?
Well, one of the things that ESPN says is that one of the weaknesses of the Steelers is their offensive line. So, regardless if Bosa's there, it's back or not, I'd like to see a lot of pressure on Pickett. I mean, he is a sophomore, a sophomore quarterback, second year in the league. So you definitely want to get in his face. You want to just, I don't know if that's going to be like some blitzes here and there, or if like just all the guys on the defensive line, Armstead and just anyone who's out there can just go pick them up. So that's definitely what I'd want to see is our defense just getting after the quarterback and flustering Pickett so he doesn't get it to his playmakers like Najee Harris or Deontay or Pickens.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, because one of the Niners' advantages is that you haven't seen the Niners with Wilkes on film yet. So what are the exotic coverages? What
Yep.
are
It's true.
how often is he going to blitz? Fred's really good at kind of coming up to the line and dropping back into coverage. So that's going to be an interesting battle. Another one for me it's always turnovers.
Of
It's
course.
just when the Niners have plus turnovers, they win. When they have minus turnovers, they lose. And except when they played Pitt,
The
Yeah.
preseason looked very sloppy.
except when they played the
Yeah.
Steelers the last time when they had 5 turnovers, and somehow won that game.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, then that was your course rec. That was the Niners came into that game 2-0 against an 0-2 Steeler team. But the Niners won a game that, frankly, they had every reason to lose. And you just felt, I remember watching that game. I remember Garoppolo drove him down late. There was a fumble that I think they tried to pitch it to Debo. He fumbled the ball. Steelers recover. In any other season prior to that, you would have thought that's the game. The Niners won't be able to stop it. But then Niners defense forces a turnover. Garoppolo hits Dante Pettis for the game-winning touchdown, and the 49ers are 3-0. And that's where I think myself, and I think maybe even you guys thought there might be something here. So that 2019 Steelers victory, I think, really set that season in motion. They got a lot of momentum, out of that game. And but if you're watching the last time the 49ers played in Pittsburgh, you have to go all the way back to 2015. And the Niners got absolutely rocked. I think there was 43-17. And the score wasn't even that. The game wasn't even that close because we were in the midst of our Jim Tomsula season. And I think that's all something we are trying very much never to speak that name again.
I did go to that game, and I must have had PTSD because I didn't remember the 5 turnovers.
Yeah.
But now that you guys have talked about that, I totally now remember that. And the one thing that I hated as a Niners fan is, obviously you want to be welcoming to all the fans who come out there from other cities because, that's the business. But there's definitely a lot of yellow, terrible towels, hanging out at Levi's, waving away on that day. So that was pretty annoying. So, but that's how it is. So.
I like the terrible towel, but it is stupid.
Oh,
Like,
wow. I don't know if we have Pittsburgh Steelers fans listening in on this podcast, but I don't. You just opened yourself up to be a target, John. Go ahead.
it's fine, but when did
John Cashman said that.
how did they get the idea? Like, let's get a towel. Let's get a towel to the game.
It came from the 70s when they're in their dynasty with the Steel Curtain and Franco Harris and Terry Bradshaw. So I remember there is some sort of a story behind it, but I didn't do that research for the podcast, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So another key to victory is, do we have a kicker? So confused on this.
Yeah.
Do we? Who is the kicker?
The latest report out of the Niners camp. Yeah, the latest report out of the Niners camp is that Moody is quote unquote progressing. However, 49ers did sign a kicker to their practice squad by the name of Wright, if I had that correct. So they at least have an insurance policy, but that's why I go back to, the keys to victory is like, I don't want a 40-yard field goal with 2 seconds left, and you're trotting out that guy to try to get it in the game. That's the scenario that bothers me the most.
Yeah, you want to ease them in. Like,
Yes.
lots of PATs. Lots of PATs.
Yes.
Cool.
Or just go for 20s, 20-yard field goals. Nice and easy.
Any other keys to victories, guys?
One angle I do like is Hufanga playing in Pittsburgh because he has been mentored by Polamalu, who of course, Hall of Fame as safety for many years for the Steelers. I hope Hufanga has a great game. I really would love to see that guy, make Polamalu proud in front of the Steeler Nation. So that's one thing I'm looking for that. But yeah, John, I think, you said it best. If you look at the 49ers offense, Kittle, Ayuk, Debo, CMC, and these are just the starters. And then here's some good news. We got Elijah Mitchell coming back. He has been declared 100%. So CMC can take
Good.
can take a playoff or a series off, and having Elijah could be, we when he's healthy, that's been a great 1-2 punch. So that's, again, I think, you keep the running game, you keep the Steelers on their heels a little bit in terms of their pass rush. You establish that, and I think the 49ers can be successful on offense.
I agree, Brian.
And and you'd like to see, like, you're talking about CMC. I know that the Niners are really analyzing that and just making sure they're not going to overwork him this year. So, that is something, obviously, the 1-2 punch of Elijah and CMC, you'd like to see that. I'd also want to see, like, and I was talking about the defense earlier, but like Javon Hargrave, I forgot he was part of Pittsburgh, but in the late 2010s. So you love him to have him a really good game, getting after Pickett or getting just a couple sack or tackles, and you just want to see something big from him. We signed him for a reason, and you just kind of want to see him produce.
And we
here in
also
this
want to
big
see Nick
stage.
Bosa. Let's make it happen. So now I don't know about you guys.
Hang on, I'm just going to check Twitter. I'm joking. No, actually, I'm not joking.
Okay.
I am going to check Twitter.
Yeah. Well, so while Tim is doing that,
Check it.
so I don't know about you guys, but I like to throw a bit of money on some football games. Not a lot. We're not talking triple zeros. I'm talking double zeros. But, it's at the beginning of the season where you have so much hope, but you also have no information. So I do the survivor leagues, which are kind of fun until you don't survive. And there's a couple pick'em leagues that I'm doing as well. And so for the survivor league this week, it was tough because you don't have enough really information. So the one that I went with, because I need to get a little bit more info on some of these teams before I pick them, is I went with the Ravens over the Texans, almost all of them. Because I'm like, okay, you got to get out. You can't just lose in week 1 and be like, well, damn, now what do I do? So that was one. And then with these pick'em leagues, there was a new one that I did where instead you don't just pick, but you have to put in confidence points. Like, this was kind of new. So you could say, okay, I'm going to do Houston against Baltimore, but my confidence is at 15. So if Baltimore wins, then I get the 15 points. And then,
What's the max you
one.
get on
The
confidence?
max you can get
What's
is
the max confidence points you
16.
get?
The least you can get is 1. So it's like, do you bet your most points on an underdog so that you can go ahead of everybody? So it's like the NCAA where you pick underdogs to get more points. So I've got that, and just I never ever bet against the 49ers ever. Like, if I think the Niners are going to lose, I just do, or I don't think they're going to cover the spread, I never put money on that game.
So
It's
here's
just like,
here's the reason I can't bet, is because you're supposed to leave emotion at the door, and pro football is just way too emotional. So that's just never going to work for me. I am in a glass case of emotion when we're talking about football. So that's just, the gambling thing will never work for me. So
Yeah.
I'll live vicariously through you, John.
well, thank you. So
You're
we'll
welcome.
see.
So John, you're talking about
Mhm.
the Survivor leagues. It's been a while since I've done one, but I remember the last time I did one, it was probably a few years ago, and Tom Brady was playing. So you'd always want to go against. You always kind of want to look at the teams who were playing
Mhm.
around the Patriots time, because they get beat up and stuff like that. But it's been a while, so that I've kind of done anything like that. So
Yeah, I think last year I
yeah.
got to week 10. So I was actually doing pretty decently. And then, of course,
Would you
I
lose
can't
on?
remember what I
Tell me.
lost on last year, but the year before I lost when Cincinnati was playing really, really well. It was Cincinnati against the Jets. I'm like, Cincinnati, and friggin' lost in overtime. Like, so it is what it is. But most years I usually finish in the money in terms of betting. So we'll see. Last year was a little bit of a down year, but the year before was really good. So we shall see.
What's the
I use it
site
on
you're doing that on,
DraftKings.
John?
We're brought to you by DraftKings. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, DraftKings is it's super easy. Legal, gambling's legal in PA. So it's weird when you cross state lines. Sometimes you're like, "Yep, can't do it." I'm like, so, but no, it's a good time. So anyway, brings us to midpoint of our show, and it's Niners trivia time with Brian.
All right. Okay. Hold on. Let me get that ready here. Okay. So trivia this week is going to be Pittsburgh themed, Niners Pittsburgh themed. So some of these might be softballs, some of these might be a little difficult. So we'll see. All right. One of the most memorable games between the Niners and Pittsburgh and the Steelers occurred back in 2011, Monday Night Football. So it's not going to be a problem for Tim or John to remember this, but it was known for 2 power outages that occurred. So I think it's obviously probably one of the reasons why the Niners got their new stadium, or one of the compelling reasons
Having lights is good.
why that happened. Okay. So
especially during Monday night.
Yeah.
football.
It was 2 nights, and I forgot it was twice.
Yeah.
I forgot it happened twice in the game. I was only remembering once, but I didn't remember twice. Okay. So that game is known for kicker David Akers passing the 49ers single season record in points scored. Who is the player that he passed, and what season did he get that record in? And for bonus points, tell me how many games that person got it in.
I want to say Ray Wershing in 1983 and 485 games.
So the question was, who did Akers pass for? You said single season or all time?
Mm-hmm.
Single season points.
Single season.
And how many games did he do it in? Okay, I'm gonna go with Jerry Rice in 1987, and it was a strike shortened year, so I'm gonna say 12 games.
Okay. Let's move on. Since 2011, that player, yet to be named, has been passed 2 times as well for single season points scored. Who passed him, and in what year?
I'm going to try Robbie Gould, and I'll go with 2019. And I don't know else.
Single season. I
These
actually
are
am drawing.
softballs.
These are softballs apparently, but I am actually drawing a blank on this one, so I will have to go with John's answer.
Okay. Next one, number 3. Before Mike Tomlin became head coach of the Steelers in 2007, what coaching position did he have, and for what team? Bonus points if you can also tell me his age.
He was a defensive backs coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I think he was like 37, something like that.
I'm going to go with, I think he was with the Vikings. I want to see who's defensive coordinator.
I think you're thinking of, who's the guy on NBC?
Tony
Dungy.
Dungy. I think you're thinking of Tony Dungy.
I'm thinking of Tony Dungy.
All right, next.
Tim's not thinking about Tony Dungy. Okay. Last one. In 2007, the Steelers decided to implement or encourage a mascot. What is the name of that mascot? And
the Steelers have a mascot. Was it?
You can describe
was it a towel?
Yeah, if you can describe them.
I'm going to go with the iron worker.
It was a flying towel.
It's Terry Bradshaw's hair.
Yeah. Oh.
It just goes out and just wanders around like, where my hair go?
I did hear something that Bradshaw may have cancer, so I don't know if that is true or not. So I do want to that's to be confirmed now.
Sorry to hear that. Sorry, Terry.
Yeah, I didn't want us to come across as that kind of podcast.
This was
those kinds of guys on that podcast. So if that is, in fact true, obviously we wish him the best. Anyway,
get well.
Well, this mascot was founded as part of the 75th anniversary. So the Steelers were founded in 1933. This was part of the 75th anniversary.
I am drawing
So,
blank.
you know what?
Just keep
I'll
going.
just if you could name anything related to it, like kind of just expound.
Say,
then
I would say an
something
iron
like
worker,
that.
a steel worker, just a guy in pants.
Freddie the foundry worker. I got nothing. I got absolutely nothing.
All right,
Those
done.
were
Let's
softballs?
move on.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Well, Tim, you were killing it before, so I had to like.
All right. I guess
maybe
I guess
better
I should have been a
research
little more
this a little
humble.
more.
I like the
yeah.
questions I know.
so this weekend, Brian and I had our annual draft for fantasy football, where we had the snake draft, which I hate because I literally have to sit there for 15 minutes until I got 2 picks in a row, and I had to sit there for another 15 minutes. But we drafted some folks. My team is called the Crushers. So, Tim,
Yes.
if you could look at my
and my team is called the Niner Knights because I created my team name when the Niners
Mhm.
Any Given Sunday, the movie that came out, the team
Mhm.
from San Francisco
Mhm.
was called the Knights, and hence
I-
Niner Knights. So it's stuck for
I
like
get it.
23
I
years.
get
So
it.
this is
it's hard to
Yeah,
believe the
got-
last time I won a Super Bowl was in a movie. Tim?
Okay, so I'm
No,
supposed to
that-
give you
that hurts.
okay. So a review of your fantasy teams are all right. I'm just gonna ask
And
first.
wait.
I go ahead.
And for the record, Tim doesn't play fantasy football, so
No,
this
I
is
don't.
his expert opinion.
I used to, but I find it's a lot more enjoyable to be judgmental and elitist and not have any skin in the game because that's just the type of person I am.
Okay, well, that's why we have this podcast.
That's why I have this pie. Absolutely, absolutely.
You do that-
You ought to see me. I do.
you do that
I
well.
don't do
You
it
do that
much with
so
my
well.
family life because my wife will set me straight very quick. At the same time, let me ask a quick question. Who was your first pick? Each of you. Who's the first one you chose?
My first pick was Derrick Henry. And no, sorry, it was AJ. It was AJ.
Okay.
Dylan?
Brown.
Oh,
No, AJ Brown from Philly.
okay. I was going to say, like, you have a lot of faith in Dylan, apparently. All right. And Brian, your first pick was?
My first pick, we have a 12-team league, and John, we should say this, John was the, 'cause
Right.
we went random this
So,
year because
I'm assuming you
dropped
picked
out
late. I know
and
what-
all that thing. So
Okay.
I had the seventh pick.
I knew it was, there was a reason I picked this person because I picked late. So 7, understood. Middle round.
7, and then John unfortunately was 12, so we had
I
back-to-back
see.
picks all
I
the
see. So we should feel bad for you.
time. I had Nick
All
Chubb
right.
as
Okay.
was.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you both C pluses. Satisfactory. I think a good effort was earned. I
This is a
understand.
2-quarterback league.
and I do think that Joe Burrow against Cleveland, I think that's potential to really light it up. I think AJ Brown, that's another one that could light up this weekend. So I'm going to go ahead right now. I'm giving the edge to John.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Go
So
good.
on
And what do you think about my team?
I give you
Tim?
an
Is mine
A
just,
for
like,
effort, and I hope
crappy?
you have an enjoyable fantasy football team because it's all about the experience and the camaraderie with your fellow teammates, or with your fellow competitive teams, right?
and winning money.
And yes, of course, I forgot about that. But the experience that trumps all. And on that note,
Should we just kind of read off? We should just kind of read off really quickly
Sure.
who our teams are. So so you can why is he giving us C's?
because you said I
So,
could
I'll
do
go
anything
first,
I wanted,
John.
and I'm just
So-
doing anything that I wanted. Is there any science
come on.
behind my grade? No, it's completely subjective.
Sounds like the Yahoo grade I got.
Exactly. What did you? So what were the? So instead of
man.
the rosters, what were your grades on Yahoo? I'm more interested in that.
I got a D plus.
Oh wow!
Yeah, the AI was like, "Yeah, dude, we're taking over for you."
Wow. And Brian?
Chat GPT generated our
Okay.
grades, by the way. So I got a D. D as in David. So I did slightly
Yeah.
worse than John.
So, Brian, who do you have on your team?
Daniel Jones, Brock Purdy, Devontae Adams, Ayuk, Jahan Dotson, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, Pat Fryermuth, J.K. Dobbins, and Nick Folk. And then defense is New York Jets. So
Yeah,
let's just go over the
so-
starters.
So
That-
I went
that's
with
my
Joe
starters.
Burrow, and then I got to a point I'm like, I really need to get a second quarterback, and there literally was no one left. So I ended up with Bryce Young, which is going to be a little tough. Then I had A.J. Brown, Debo, D-Hop, who I think might have a pretty decent resurgence in Tennessee, Derrick Henry, A.J. Dillon, Tyler Higbee, which might seem more just because Cooper Kupp's kind of iffy, Drake London, and Riley Patterson from Detroit. Then I went with the Jacksonville D, simply because their league is just conference is awful. I mean, you got like it's the Jacksonville Texans, the Colts, and who's the other? I don't even know who the other team is, but yeah, it's just like they gotta rack up some points there. He's just got to play them all the time. So, but yeah, we'll see. So there's gonna be a lot going on Sunday, which will be fun. You know, phones will be in hand, bets will be checked, points will be earned.
There
But
you go.
Brian, I don't think we did as well this week. So why don't you tell us how we did?
Okay, so the first question is, we talked about the Monday Night Football game back in 2011. David Akers passed the 49ers single season scoring record. Who did he pass, and in what year, and in how many games? So, Tim, you got that one right. Jerry Rice in 1987 had 138 points.
He had 20,
Crazy.
12 games
22
out of the
touchdowns. He
15-game
had.
season.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Is that just
Yes.
coming from memory
Yes.
there, or did you just look
Yes.
that up? Because you were like RoboCop.
No,
or
I'm like
some-
Rain Man.
You're like
Rain Man.
Lots of queens. Lots of
Yeah.
queens.
5 minutes of podcast left. 5 minutes of podcast left. Go for it.
Okay.
Next.
all right. So wait, John, who
I
did
said
you
Ray
say as
Worshing
the,
because I actually thought
as
it was
the
season. I
single
wouldn't
season?
think it was
Oh, yeah.
all time, not. So, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay. Number 2, since 2011, Jerry Rice has been passed 2 times. Who passed him, and in what year? So I think, John, you had,
Yes.
was it Gould?
Mhm.
Said Robert Gould? Okay. He did pass him, but in
Uh,
2017 at 145 points. And then Dawson,
Oh,
our
yes.
kicker back in
Yeah.
13,
I forgot
Phil
about
Dawson,
Phil.
140.
Nice.
David Akers, I forgot to say back in the first question, he actually got 166 points in 2011. So he kicked some butt that year. But that was when, we had Alex Smith and
What year was that?
who else was on the team?
2011. Okay.
2011.
Got it. Harbaugh's first
I'm
year.
just
Vernon and Frank
you know, it's
Gore.
like, Jake,
Yeah.
that's a good record to go for, man.
Okay.
Yep.
166. All right. Before Mike Tomlin became coach, question number 3. Before Mike Tomlin became coach in 2007, who did he coach for? John, you said
Tampa
what
Bay
again?
is a defensive backs coach.
I said Minnesota. I said it was defensive coordinator.
Tim, you got
Wow.
that right. 2006. He was the Vikings DC.
Good job, Tim.
So, Tim, I don't know how you do this. You pull that one out again. Let's see. He was 34 when he was
close. I had
hired,
37.
and it was 35 when the season started. Yeah. So I only asked that because I remember the Steelers. I remember coming up that time that the Steelers generally like to hire coaches in their 30s, and so they can be there for the long haul. So I think Chuck Bill is another
Bill
great example of
Cowher,
that. Okay.
Now,
Oh, yeah, Bill
this is the
Cowher.
one I
Forgot about
wanted to
him.
hear. This was the question, the
Um,
answer I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, prior to who is the mascot of the Steelers? Prior to the 2007 season, the Steelers introduced Steely McBeam. Steely McBeam
Wow.
as their official mascot. So as part of the anniversary celebrations, the team did a pool of 70,000 suggestions across the area. One person by the name of Diane Rolls from Middlesex Township submitted the winning name, which was meant to represent the steel of Pittsburgh's industrial heritage, Mick for the Rooney's family's Irish roots, and Beam, so Steely McBeam. And Beam was thrown in there for the steel beams produced by Pittsburgh, as well as Jim Beam, her husband's favorite alcoholic beverage. So Steely
That's so
McBeam
Pittsburgh.
is the mascot. And he does look like
I'm gonna
exactly
have
what
to
you
Google it
said,
later
John.
just to see what it looks like. So I'm sorry I wasn't Freddie the foundry worker. I was a little off on that one.
You were very close. Very close.
I figured
So.
something with coal, steel, blue collar, lunch pail looking guy.
Well, that brings us towards the end.
Yeah.
And we always end with stuff we bought on Amazon this week. So, Tim, I know you were hanging out by yourself. Did you buy anything on Amazon this week?
I did not. I did not buy a single thing on Amazon this week.
How do you expect us to get paid, Tim?
Well, I could make something up, but I looked at it, I was like, the last time I spoke to you guys, I said, what, olive oil and Listerine or something like that? So I just didn't need anything.
It's olive oil, a hairbrush.
Olive oil and hairbrush, yeah. This is how my
Right.
hair.
Brian?
I did make a purchase on Amazon. So Amazon owns a company called Comixology. And so it's like comic books. It's like comic books, basically. So I am, this is going to sound a little nerdy, but I do read a little bit of comic books
That
every now
sounds
and
very,
then.
very
So
nerdy.
I have a subscription.
Yeah. Go.
It is. And so there's a comic book from the a show from the 80s called Robotech. It's like an animation, like a Japanese animation, but they did a new comic book this year, and it just got released on Comixology, so I had to get it. So that's what I bought this week. So one or two magazines, books that I bought. So $3.99 each.
Brian, there's
Just letting you
no
know.
reason ever to feel
Comixology.
nerdy. You're talking to two brothers who would race home from school to watch Star Blazers on channel whatever out of San Jose. So
36, baby.
channel 36, KICU, if whatever happened to that station, I don't know. But that was
that was a
Japanese
good-
anime. Yeah.
It still exists.
Love Star Blazers.
Star Blazers.
Especially when
Anyway,
their mouths didn't
that-
quite work with the English, like going to
I-
go across the stars.
And see, I was so young, I didn't even pick up on that. I was just way too naive and ignorant. I just saw space battles and wave motion guns and, bad guys bombing Earth.
Do you remember all the pants that they wore back then? They were
Yeah,
like bell
exactly.
bottoms. I kind of just flashing back to
thought
that.
that was just how the style was going to look in 2248 or whatever Star Blazers was taking place. So
What was the name of the
man.
ship?
Good
the
times.
Argo.
There we go. The
Why
Argo.
do I know
The
these
Argo.
things? Why do I know these things? Yes. Yes.
You've gone to red. You've gone to red.
Useless information.
So for me this week, yeah.
John?
So for me this week, I bought a 49ers magnetic decal because the guy who's my golf instructor is a big Steelers fan, and he's got license plate on his truck, which is the Steelers, like in the front.
Yeah.
So when I go to practice sometime this week, I'm just going to slap the 49ers sticker on that and walk away.
Wow. Yeah.
Those are fighting words. No, this is
Well,
That's pretty
he's
aggressive.
He's a great guy. He's a good friend.
I hope so.
I find a terrible towel in my
Wait,
bag.
is this an actual sticker?
Uh,
Is this
What'd you say, Brian?
so? John, are you putting
No,
like
no,
an
a
actual sticker
magnetic
on his car, or is
decal.
it like a magnet?
Like an actual sticker would be really aggressive.
Okay, good.
No, it's a magnetic decal just to put over his
Yes.
license plate.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've
that's
heard
all
of
in
fights
fine.
breaking out on the golf course. I just didn't feel it was going to be something you had anything to do with, John.
Well, I'll run real fast. All right. Well, we don't do predictions, so we're gonna wrap it up. If you get a chance, give us a like, give us a review, subscribe. But as always, thank you for tuning in. Go Niners. Next week we'll be back with the Steelers review and the Rams preview. So in between all those times, everybody cross their fingers. Nick Bosa will be signed. And go Niners. Beat those Steelers. Peace out, Niners Nation. Go Niners.
Thanks for listening to Niners Talk. Stay faithful.